Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to a favorite characters lists video, as you can tell by the title. Yeah, we're doing some interesting videos today, stuff we don't normally do, as you see, along with obviously the Monday reaction we normally do. I just had this weird desire to do some interesting videos, and this was one of them. We're going to look at these tier maker lists I created of basically ranking my favorite characters. They are in set classes, like, for example, S class is the top. It's the best. It's above A class. And then it goes down, it goes from S class to A to B to C to D. I think a couple of them might have E or F, but I don't know for 100%. These are ranked in order. A lot of them, the characters in the S class will be in order, but the others won't be. They'll just be in that class. But I'll explain it as we go into it, so we're going to go into it. So I'm going to also increase the size of this, make it full screen. So we're starting with Avatar: The Last Airbender, as you can see. So this one only goes down to D class. And obviously it's not all the characters in the show, but it's just what was on that list. So like with this one as an example, this one is actually all of them are in order. All of them are in order. So yeah, S class, as you can see, my favorite character of the series is Zuko. Just because of his just amazing development, characterization, and growth throughout the series. And my least favorite, as you can see, is the one dude whose name I can't even remember. He's at the end of D class. He was involved in Toph's training and then in trying to get her back after she ran away with Team Avatar. But yeah, you can see like some of these choices might be a little unexpected. Like you see Wan Shi Tong, the owl spirit of the library, in the S class. I love Wan Shi Tong. I adore him as a character. He's hilarious. He's really funny. Hector Elizondo does an amazing job as his voice, and it's just like I've always just loved him as a character. I don't know why. You see the boulder in S class as well. I know it's hard to see the ones that are under the tier maker logo. I apologize for that, but that's the boulder up there as well. Everyone loves the boulder. But like in A class, you see Sokka and Katara's father. You see Hama, the blood bending witch. You see the Earth King, and so on and so forth, and all. And some choices might be a little different from what you'd expect, like Sokka being liking him less than characters like, his master, for example, who's a couple spaces above him, liking him less than Momo. But yeah, and then Aang, of course, only being B class and stuff like that. There's some interesting choices, but this is probably what I'd say is accurate in terms of just enjoyment of the characters and stuff. And again, obviously, I like all of the characters through S through C class, but D class, obviously not as much. And even with C class, as it gets more close to the bottom of C class, not as much. It's not that I hate the ones at the bottom of C class, it's just they're not as interesting to me. But so yeah, I wanted to go through most of all of that kind of general idea of stuff with this first list here. But we're going to move on to our second list, which is obviously we move on to Legend of Korra. This one also goes down to only D, but has a lot more characters in it. So as you can see, my favorite character with this one is obviously Korra herself, and my least favorite is the President of the United Republic, Raiko. For obvious reasons. And this one's a little different from the other one in terms of likability, because this one, the C class, is actually where it starts to get to characters I just really don't like or am not into. S through B are the characters that I still do like. So as you can see, like S class, those are obviously my top favorites. You have Korra, you have Asami, Bolin, Zhu Li, Iroh, Toph, Kuvira, etc., etc. And then, like, obviously my least favorites include, like, Milo and everything. I'd say, like, lower B class is probably the ones I'm just kind of met on. So the likes of Sokka In Korra, he doesn't really do much. He's just shown through flashbacks and doesn't really have any presence when he is shown. Korra's mother, um, so on and so forth. You have Tenzin's wife, who I cannot even think of the name of right now. But yeah, characters like that who just don't really have a presence to me. Next, we have Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, my former favorite anime of all time, which was beaten out by My Hero Academia. As you can see, my favorite is actually Azumi Curtis. When I actually started thinking about it, it's like that actually surprised me. It's like I actually really love Azumi. And even more surprisingly, my second favorite is Envy of all characters. But as you can see, my least favorite is Father Cornello, and that's probably because of being a Christian and everything and seeing. I despise fake Christians, and and definitely Father Cornello would fit into that very much so, that kind of archetype. But you see other favorites of mine, like you see Ling, Roy Mustang, Armstrong, both Armstrongs, Hohenheim, and all of them. This one I would say starts to get into the level of more meh and not really caring about them in lower B class, probably after Winry's grandmother. So once it starts getting to Salim and Pride and all, that's when it starts to get more meh for me. And then C class is mostly all just meh. It's not that I hate them, it's just, or not even that I think they're bad characters, just very meh. And obviously D is the dislike. It's actually funny. You would think that Shao Tucker would be lower. You think he'd be the very bottom, but I actually like him more than Cornello and Sloth. Because Sloth, I just don't think he has a purpose as a character. I think he's just comes across as very unnecessary. It's like it's like they had to have a sloth, so they just put him in, and he doesn't seem to have any presence as a character. He's not entertaining to watch. It feels like you could take him out and it wouldn't make any real effect on the series, which is not a good thing to have. So since he feels pretty much pointless to me, I do have to put him lower. And Father Cornello, again, that has a more personal note to me. Shao Tucker, I definitely despise, but yeah, it's just those other reasons why I had to put him above them. Plus, honestly, even though I despise him, he's a very well-written character. He is very well-written for what he is. And that's a horrible douchebag, evil dickbag. Next, we move on to My Hero Academia. Now, this one is actually sorted differently, because obviously this one, like, instead of tiers, it says, like, adore, love, like, etc. And this one wasn't hard for me to do at all. Obviously, hate Mineta. I despise Mineta with every fiber of my being. And obviously, my number one is going to be Sue. I mean, you would expect that. It might be surprising to you, though, that Bakugo is my number two, but I mean, if you've watched my reactions, you know how much I adore his character development and growth, how much I feel that they really get right with his story. So yeah, I adore his character. And it might even be kind of surprising that Pony Sunatori's in my adore section, but she's fucking adorable and I love her. And I want to protect her, and she's just awesome. But yeah, I mean, this one's obviously a lot easier to read, like, on where the meh ranks come into play, obviously. And for the meh ranks, I mean, outside of Kaminari, most of those characters are pretty much unimportant. They're class 1B or whatever it is. The only ones who are a little more important are the ones at the end, who are basically the ones who are not what's his face from the big three. That's kind of how I view them at the moment, but they'll probably get more in the next season. Mirio, that's his name, by the way. They're the ones who aren't Mirio. That's kind of how they come across. Because when they introduce the big three at the end of season 3, it's like, oh, it's all about Mirio. Mirio's the only one they really gave any focus to. I don't even remember the names of the other two. All I remember is the girl is kind of peppy and happy and kind of feels just like Mina. And the guy is extremely, extremely shy and has stage fright. That's all I know about them. And it's very basic, very one note right now. Now, that might change, and these character rankings probably will change overall as time goes on. But this is how it is now, for sure. So next we go on to Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, and this is actually a list I had to make on Tier Maker because this wasn't on there. No one made this, so I had to make this ranking tier uh, option. So I chose all of these icons as well. Funny enough. So yeah, as you can see, my favorite character is Kobayashi, which is surprising to some people. I mean, most people would have Toru as their favorite, but for me, Kobayashi is just freaking amazing. I love her so much. Plus, I just love her design. She's cute as fuck, and she just has a great design to her. Just her hairstyle, the outfits, the expressions. It's just great. And obviously Toru's father is least favorite because I hate his guts. Um, and these are really characters that have appeared in the anime as far, because obviously I don't know the manga characters yet. There is season 2 coming though. So season 2 might change a lot of this. We'll see. So we move on to Durarara. Great anime if you haven't seen it. Obviously, my favorite is Celty Sturluson. She's adorable and awesome, which is funny because most of the series she doesn't actually have a voice. I mean, you'll hear a voice actor basically saying what she's typing out, but she's not actually speaking. And she also doesn't have a face most of the time. Like 90% of the time. You get to see what her head and face looks like, but she doesn't actually have it most of the time, so she has no expressions. But her body language is so good, and the way she expresses herself is so perfect. And my least favorite is Masayomi Kita. I've never liked him. I've always found him extremely annoying and unlikable in pretty much every way. Now, I admit that they do give some depth and development to him and explain why he acts the way he does. I get that, but I've still never liked him. And even after they explain that, it's just, it wasn't enough for me to start liking him. It makes me understand him, but not like him. So we move on to Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero. I'm kind of counting both of them in here. So as you can see, my favorite is Ruka Urashibara, who I've just always adored. He's freaking adorable. And my least favorite is Kurisu's father because he's a fucking asshole. But, like, as you can see, like, this is pretty much how you would expect my rankings to be, I feel. Like, obviously, if you watch my Steins Gate Zero reactions, you know I love Maho Hiajo. You know I love Ferris, so it's, like, no surprise to see those two in there. You see, like, both versions of Okabe and stuff like that. You see both versions of Moeka and so on and so forth. So, yeah, this is pretty much kind of what you'd expect it to be. I think a lot of people would expect Mayuri to be a little higher on the list, and she probably would have been S rank for me, but I've kind of cooled down on my love for her a little bit after Steins Gate Zero. Maybe it's just because Steins Gate Zero didn't do enough for her, in my opinion, personally. We move on though to One Piece, and this is a big list, as you can see. Obviously, nowhere near all of the characters in One Piece, but this one was also ranked a little differently because this one has an S plus tier. So I used S plus kind of as the characters who are just everything to me. Characters who are some of my favorite characters in all of anime. So as you can see, my favorite is Nico Robin, and my least favorite is Hody Jones. Hody Jones is like my least favorite villain in all of One Piece. He just seems like a complete rehash of Arlong, and not even a good rehash. Like a really terrible rehash. It's like they took everything that was good about Arlong as a villain, stripped it away, and left only the unlikable bits. But yeah, like you see my favorites. Carrot has definitely risen as one of my favorites, just personally. Zoro is still a better character, and so on and so forth. In fact, pretty much everyone from S-Class is a better character at the moment than her. but I just personally adore her just too much. Maybe it is the furry in me. Maybe it is the fact that I do find her freaking adorable and lovable as all hell, and I kind of want to cuddle with her. But um, I just love her. I just do. I can't argue with that. And yeah, so like you see, like my favorites include Robin. You see Carrot, Zoro, Sanji. You see Doflamingo and Rob Lucci in there for villains. Crocodile as well. You see Vivi. Behind the Tier Maker logo is Sabo and Shanks. But then you see like other S-class ones. You see Jewelry Bonnie, which might be a surprising one. I just find her freaking hilarious and adorable, and she's great. I wish she had more screen time. But like you see Eneru, you see Frankie and stuff. You see Jinbei, um, even Koala from the Revolutionary Army, and Ivankov. Ivankov is one of those characters you think I would not like because you would think is kind of almost insulting as to the trans community. But Ivankov is actually, they're actually really cool. Like, I actually really think it's complimentary to the trans community. They're a really good person. They're a good character. I'm using they, by the way, because I actually don't know, like, Ivankov's, like, official gender. I don't know if they're officially male or female, because it's kind of hard to tell with their devil fruit ability. Um, but yeah, it's like they're actually really cool. They're a good person. They're fighting to protect people as part of the Revolutionary Army. And not to mention they're just very fun. And not in a super over the top, unlikably ridiculous way, but actually just almost in the same kind of way as, I mean, obviously inspired by Tim Curry's Dr. Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Definitely inspired by that. And I really just like them as a character. But like you see Tashigi, you see Bellamy the Hyena, Dr. Kureha. Again, where this one starts getting meh more in the B rankings for me, when it gets to Doflamingo Corzone, or is it Don Quixote Corzone? Which one's the actual last name there? I think it's Don Quixote. But you see like Perona, Princess Shirahoshi, Eustace Kid, um, all of those. You see Big Mom in there. Big Mom, I think, might get a little higher on the list with the whole Cake Island arc, but right now that's where she's at. Um, and then C rankings, honestly, is just where it starts to really go downhill for me. I don't like Momonosuke. I really don't. I don't like Spandam. Um, I don't really like most of the characters in the C and D ranking, well, in the C rankings especially. I don't like just because they're just kind of there and they don't feel like they've done anything of use. Like Kaku, he feels like the most useless member of Baroque Works to me personally, or not Baroque Works. Geez, Baroque Works. No, CP9. And Hachi seems like the most worthless member of the Fishmen Pirates. Um, and Hachi's cool, like he's okay, but it's like meh. Just in general, he doesn't seem to like have that enough of a presence. And obviously, I don't like Hogback from the D rankings either. Next, we have specifically for the crew, the Straw Hat crew. So obviously, my favorite is Robin, and my least favorite is Chopper. Now, I've said before, I've said in my One Piece reactions, I do know who the 10th member of the crew is. I do know who it is. I don't know if I actually said anything or not. Um, I mean, by this point, it's already been revealed in the manga and stuff. So I'm just going to say it at this point. The 10th member of the crew is Jinbei. And if I were to put Jinbei on this list, I would say, and this list is different from like the favorite character list because this is specifically in their position as a crew member, though it's pretty much the same as the characters. Um, so if you go back to here, as you can see, Jinbei would be after Frankie. And if I were to put him on a specific tier, I'd put him in A tier. I do like Jinbei. Um, Yeah, and I feel like that's pretty much accurate. I don't hate any of the characters in the crew, by the way. Like, even though Chopper's only C, I don't hate him. I just feel like he hasn't been as good. So next we get to Hat in Time characters. This game's just adorable and hilarious, and Vandermelon started playing it. I love this game. As you can see, my favorite character, obviously Hat Kid. And least favorite is the Mafia boss. I just, I don't know. I just feel like there's not enough for him to really make him anything good. um, but like in favorites, you see like the likes of Mr. Snatcher, the Mafia goons, uh, or no, Queen Vanessa. She did become queen. Queen Vanessa, the badge seller, the seals, Bo Kid, Roomba friend, all of that. And it's like all of these characters are pretty good. Like that's Hat in Time's specialty. It's characters. So it's like even the lower characters, like in the C and D rankings, it's like I don't hate them or anything. It's just they're my least favorites. Okay, so now Wakfu. This one, some of you might have been hoping to see on here. So yeah, my favorite character, as you can see, is Amalia, which might surprise some people. Some of you probably thought it was Ava, but it's been a while, and I think Season 3 really solidified Amalia as my favorite because it gave her, it showed her growing up, basically. It showed her growing up and maturing in a way that really did it for me. And looking back on the first two seasons and stuff as well, I just really started to love her a lot more. And I still love Ava, don't get me wrong. She's obviously my number two, but yeah. And then my least favorite is that Prince dude. I don't even remember his name. He just felt like he came out of nowhere and was kind of pointless in the end. Though General Moffat, who was with him, is obviously A rank. She's hilarious and awesome. But yeah, like you see some of my other favorites, obviously Lady Echo. You guys know I love Lady Echo. You see Kilby, Toxine, Nox, and Yugo. Cleophy is A rank, Ellie as well. I would say C rank is where it starts to get meh for me. Everything B rank is okay. B rank is actually I'd say where it starts to get meh, and where it starts to get meh is kind of around Flopon. I think it's how it's supposed to be pronounced. I think I always said Floppin, but I think it's pronounced Flopon. Um, Ava and Tristapin's son. Um, yeah, I just feel like he's very meh as a character, especially compared to Ellie. Everyone above Flopon in the B rankings, I'd say is okay. Not good, but not meh either. Just okay. Like, obviously, Tristapin, Atamai, Rubelax is in there. But once it starts to get Flopin, once it gets to Flopin in the B rankings, they're just meh. And they kind of go to meh until, I'd say until Otamai in the C rankings at the very end. Otamai, I just didn't like Otamai. I'm sorry, I didn't really like him. I didn't hate him, but I just didn't like him that much. And obviously, again, this is not all the characters. And for example, when it shows Atamai, by the way, I had to make this list as well. This was another one I made. When I had the sprite I chose for Atamai was obviously his season 3 appearance, but it's all of Atamai. It's all of Atamai, all of them. So these are just the little sprites I chose. Again, it's not every character because I'm just not going to spend all that time finding every single character. It's just the ones that really stood out to me that I could think of off the top of my head. So next we get to Pokemon. This is Sun and Moon characters. There's a few Pokemon lists, so get ready for that. Sun and Moon characters. As you can see, my favorite is Lily. I think she's just an amazingly written character. She is so freaking good, and I relate to her, and I really just adore her as a character. And my least favorite is, I don't even know his name. That shows you why he's my least favorite. He left no impression on me. He's one of the only characters from Sun and Moon to actually leave no impression on me. Because he's pretty much, it's like, oh, you meet him and he's there for like one trial. He's there in one of the little mini game side things. I think it's that that Wi-Fi square thing. I don't even remember what that's called. Um, but it's like, yeah, he's not really that impressive to me. But like you see who my favorites are, and they definitely have a bigger role. Like obviously Luzamine and Guzma, you have Ace Rolla and Plumeria, the professors are there. So it's like, yeah, you see like who my favorites are in comparison, and you understand why the ones who have almost no actual focus are weaker for me. Although you might be surprised that like weaker ones in like the B rankings in terms of it, which are more of the meh, you might be surprised to see Hapu or How or even Hala there, who do have more of a presence. Especially How, who a lot of people do like, but I just found him a little much at times. And then there's times where he's like, okay, where did you even go? Like, it's been a while. Where have you been? um, but yeah, definitely favorite Sun and Moon characters, for sure, are Lily and Luce. I mean, they're just so freaking well written. And this is Pokemon and gym leaders and the island champions and stuff for Sun and Moon, all of that kind of stuff. So speaking directly from this rankings, my favorite is obviously Ace Rolla. I love everything about Ace Rolla. And Mina is my second favorite, and so on and so forth. As you can see, my least favorite is I know I think he's ice types. I think he might be dragon types actually. I don't even remember. I barely remember him. Um, the ones who are in D rank are basically ones I barely remember. C rank are the ones I either just kind of feel like okay, D rank are the ones I barely at all remember. C rank are the ones I kind of know who they are, but don't really, they didn't leave any kind of important impression on me. Or in the case of some of them, like Brock, I just don't like. I do not like Brock. I know I might be in the minority there, but I don't like Brock. Um, B rank are the ones that are just kind of meh for me, and then obviously A and S are good ones that left a lot better of an impression. So obviously there's a lot more on this one. um, yeah. And now this is Pokemon Professors, specifically the professors you see. So obviously my favorite is Kukui and Burnett. I just loved them. Kukui had such energy and character to him. He felt like a fully fleshed out, likable person. And Professor Rowan, I believe was his name, just very meh to me. But I didn't hate him. This list doesn't have anyone I really actively disliked or anything. So I will give it that. This is another one that has some weird ranking things. Like, this is evolutions. Like, the top one is best BB. Like, what does that mean? Baby? And then there's, like, still really flippin' cool, very solid, below average, and just not doing it for me, dog. It's like, what are these rankings? But as you can see, my favorites are Sylveon and Vaporeon. Vaporeon was always my favorite until Sylveon came along. I have a Vaporeon plush. And I would have a Sylveon plush, but I just haven't had a chance to get one. And Leafeon just, in my eyes, just doesn't do it for me. Yeah, I mean, obviously based on the ranking. I just never saw any appeal in it. I honestly didn't. Now, if I were to put Eevee itself on this list, it would be after Vaporeon for sure in that same ranking slot. I adore Eevee. Eevee is adorable. So next we have Studio Ghibli movies. So as you can see, my favorite Ghibli movie is When Marnie Was There, which if you followed me for any length of time, you might already know that. I love that movie so much. I mean, I loved it so much that I actually reacted to it back on the old channel and stuff. One of the old channels. And after reacting to it, like, I pretty much almost right away went and ordered it on eBay and got it within a week. It's like I had to get it. I had to get the movie on DVD. because I loved it that much. And I've seen it multiple times since then, and I still love it. But like you see other ones at the top, like Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, Castle in the Sky, and Kiki. All of those I've always loved. And my least favorite is My Neighbors the Yamadas. And this is only the ones I've seen, by the way. There's a couple that aren't on here. Um, I couldn't even finish My Neighbors the Yamadas. I just found it unenjoyable. I like the first time I watched it, I could not finish it. I actually had to watch it basically in separate times, because I just found it so unenjoyable. Like it's basic, and not even just that it's basically a series of shorts. What I found unenjoyable about it is that the shorts themselves and the characters and everything just weren't entertaining, personally. I'd say that anything A through B are good, or S through B. S through B are all good, and I really like. Once it gets to C, they start not really going downhill, but just kind of being a little more meh to me. And the funny thing is, The Wind Rises was actually a lot higher up for me when I first saw it, but it's kind of dropped a little bit for me when I got over that initial hype and everything. And I still like it. D ranking are the ones that I feel like just meh, not really interested in anymore. I probably will never see them again, basically. Pompoko I thought was kind of ridiculous and stupid and had a lot of plot holes. Earthsea, Earthsea, like, was interesting, but it didn't feel like it actually did anything, if you know what I mean. Um, and honestly, if I'm being honest, this is a personal list, so the only reason Grave of the Fireflies is at the end of the C rankings is because that movie, I can't watch it again. It upsets me very highly. And not that it's a bad movie, not at all. Honestly, if I were judging this purely on the quality of the movie, that would be S rank for sure. But because I also have to judge this on my personal experience with the movies and my personal interest in them, I have to put it that low because I don't enjoy watching the movie. It makes me extremely emotionally distraught. Like, not just sad, not even just angry. I am distraught. It destroys me emotionally. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times, and I can't watch it again. I just can't put myself through that. And it's like, again, I don't hate the movie or anything. It's just, it's a very well-made movie, but I just can't stand watching it. And it's not enjoyable to watch to me because of that. Now we have Princess Zelda designs, and I think this might be the last one. So as you can see, my favorite Zelda design is Breath of the Wild. I actually really love what they did with her. But this is more just design-wise specifically, and I really think she has a great design. She doesn't feel like as regal as some other ones, but she feels more with her design, with how she's like dressed, how her facial features are and everything. She seems more human, for lack of a better word. She comes across as very just real with her design. And obviously, my least favorite design is the derpy as fuck one. And not even derpy as fuck in a good way. Derpy as fuck in a good way would be more along the lines of the Wind Waker Zelda. um, but yeah, like you could see my favorites. Obviously, Breath of the Wild. You see Hyrule Warriors, Skyward Sword. I think the last one is originally from Link Between Worlds. But it's also the one that's used in Smash Bros. Um, but yeah, like Legend of Zelda, one of my favorite games of all time. Well, game franchises of all time. Just adore it, and yeah, it's just phenomenal. Phenomenal storytelling, phenomenal gameplay, all of that jazz. So yeah, let me check if this is last, and it is, yes, okay. So, those are like some favorites lists I did. Favorite characters, and in some cases, in one case there at the end, like favorite designs for a specific character. Favorite movies even and whatnot, and evolutions and all. Um, so yeah, this is made using a website called Tier Maker. You can go on there and create your own rankings. There's all of these different character lists. There's stuff for other video games, movies, anime, cartoons. There's stuff even for like fast food restaurants. Like you can rank your fast food restaurants or favorite soda flavors, stuff like that. There's all kinds of stuff. Um, I only had to add a couple of them too, like only a couple of them. The Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid and the Whack Fu ones weren't on there already. So those were the only ones I actually had to add. And I'm kind of curious. I want to see if like anyone has actually done those yet. Um, I don't know if it'll tell me like if anyone's done the ones I've made. Because I mean, obviously, I never made them before. I actually don't know how to find out. There's a when I click on the Whack Fu one, there's like one that says similar tier lists, and sometimes it'll show if someone's done like different rankings for them down there from other lists, using as an example. But there's nothing down there at the moment, at least. Hmm. Oh well. But yeah, this was just a fun little random video I decided to do, and I hope you enjoyed it. I want to hear your thoughts on these kind of lists, though. Like, who are your favorite characters from Whack Fu, from One Piece, from Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, My Hero, Korra, etc., etc.? Tell me your thoughts on these lists as well, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.